What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the All for Speed channel. I just want to jump on before this video kicks off. It's another long video, and I apologize in advance, but I don't think chopping it into 30 parts is going to make sense. So, similar to how we went to the fuel system, this went a bit lengthy. It's a bit long, but I promise I did it so that everybody has a chance to get the information you need. There might be something deep in there, and I didn't want to cut it. So enjoy the video. Thanks for stopping in. Remember, afterwards or now, click that like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for watching. What's up, everybody? Just going to give you a quick little update on the MaliBeast. It is coming a bit slower than I'd like. Work has been crazy, but I'm back out here getting ready to make some progress today. We actually picked up a brand new Champion radiator. We ditched the Griffin but kept their fans. Picked up some rubber at O'Reilly's, got some spacers at Lowe's. We're going to be mounting the fans to this setup, and this will be kind of the shock absorber so we're not metal to metal. But these Champion radiators are coming out super nice, geared for speed. Lenny over there got me dialed in real good with them, and I run them on the 64. It's been the only thing on the 64, so I'm excited to have them both on both cars now. One thing to mention though is Brian, been a huge help, came out, helped me out with dropping the tank on this already. Got me connected with Lenny, who I'm going to definitely be going back to for a lot of different things. He's got a sweet little hot rod fabrication shop and all that good stuff. And we got a list of things that we need to do on the windshield, kind of like we have on the 64 that's still waiting. We're going to hopefully mount the exchanger today, or at least remove the AC condenser and see where we're going to fit that. That is probably one of the more difficult jobs that I'm going to have to modify to get into the grill. We'll be relocating coils, so I'll be unmounting those. Super stoked to get my Aces spark plugs in. What's really slowed me down this last week, besides work, was getting this paver patio set up. I wanted to get rid of a lot of weeds, trying to eliminate dust, doing some stuff to the backyard. We'll get grass and a patio over there. So been fortunate to have guys like Joel, Boost District and Justin, Tri5, Super Sexy 56 to talk construction with me, because those guys really know what they're doing. But yeah, we got this set up so the drift Chevelle's parked on pavers now, and it's not overgrown with weeds and all that stuff. But had to clean up the house a little bit, make the wife happy so I could stay out here in the garage. And yeah, we're gonna make some progress on this thing today. So what we've done here is we put the spacers down just to see where they fit. And these holes line up with where the intake bolts will come down and hold the intake down. So this is actually still in the way, and it's keeping us from sitting the intake, the mid plate flush. So what we have to do is actually either bend this down a little bit more this way, or turn it, or maybe even pull it out and tap another sort of fitting in there, maybe like tap a MPT barb or something. So we're going to be messing around with some options for this. I'll do some research and see what other people have done to fit a different type of fitting. It's possible we even, cut here and flare and just connect here. I'm not really sure. We'll see what happens. So that's one thing. And this is kind of what it looks like with the supercharger off. And let me show you what it looks like on the bottom side with the gaskets that I was trying to figure out before. Just going to show you what we're working on. So these gaskets, this is the after, and this is before. So you can see there's this knob that needs to be grinded off for my application. Basically what I did, and maybe there's an easier way, I don't know. I basically cut this off, filed it down, and then I actually instead took a grinding wheel and just kind of went over it really softly. And I got it down nice and smooth, and then I used a razor blade just to clean it out. So we're gonna redo that same process on this one right here, and call it done. There it is. So you can see it's nice and smooth. We didn't damage the gasket or nothing. Take the razor blade, taking out the inside because we just made it all flat. I don't think it really matters, but we'll just kind of get rid of any loose plastic that's on here. don't know why I'm doing that. I'm gonna use this. So these are both smooth, and we'll just clean them. All right, so here's the gaskets on. I left one off just so I could show you how they clip on. But these gaskets right here, they have this little nub right here, which I'm pretty sure we're just gonna shave off because I don't think it's necessary for our application. But just to show you how they fit really quick, that nub will actually get in the way of the supercharger itself. So let me show you how this goes. There we go. So these two will fit in here, and then this fits perfectly in this little spacer, and then this will clip in over here. Nice loud clip in, and this one over here. Boom, just like that. So now we have our gaskets in place. Everything sits down flush, and we'll tighten them up, and there's a sequence that you'll tighten it and a torque spec and all that good stuff. Oh, that one, there we go. Okay, now they're nice and down. All right, so that's how the gaskets go onto the mid plate, and then that allows this to kind of sit flush, and this gasket will seal up against the adapters, and then the adapters have their own gaskets, just like on a factory intake. You have the gasket channels, and you'll fit the factory style gaskets in there. All right, so we have the adapter plates sitting in place, and we're setting this down so we can move that PCV into the right position. So our PCV is still in the way. Basically, we need to turn this PCV line pretty much completely sideways this direction. So take this back off. Matter of fact, I'm going to set it over here. Okay. So I thought I would turn it this way, but we got to turn it the other way. Let's see if that gives us what we want. Well, that's in there. Looks like that's what we needed. And we can get a line on this. So what we were trying to do is move that PCV, just turn it to where we can still utilize it. And we got it right where we need it, out of the way. So that's awesome. We actually have the mid plate now sitting exactly where we want it. It's sitting down, flat, nothing in the way. We do have some clearance underneath it, which is where your steam lines would normally run. I have a different steam line setup, but that is looking good. And let's see. I think we can set the supercharger back on and see what our clearance is on the firewall for the mil-spec plug. All right, and what we're doing right here is just making sure our holes line up, which, oh, I see. Just need to slide up a little bit. All right, there we go. Okay, so these will line up, which is good. So that'll line up like that. We haven't picked up those screws yet. Now we're sitting about right. Right now we will sit. All right. That's how that'll mount. So we'll do another hood close test with the spacers under there. All right, we're good with the exact setup we're gonna have. The hood closes. Let me show you guys what that looks like under there. All right, here we go. We're gonna look at the hood clearance. All right, going up. So that is hood clearance without any adjusting or any extra work. See all the way up to the firewall. The pulley, pretty close, but that's behind the pulley. So I show you this angle. See, the hood has an opening, and this is where everything starts to drop down on the supercharger. You can see the angle of the throttle body will be down. So we have all this hood clearance up here. Now we're looking down at it. So we should be plenty fine. This is looking good. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna actually mock up this throttle body. Mock this guy up. Okay. So let's see. Are we? Oh, you know what? We're missing a gasket. Alright, so we're fitting up the throttle body, and basically there's a little bit of paint, I think, inside the threads. Caused me to do a little baby cross thread, but not sure. I think I got it worked out. Let's see here. Put it down right now. I'm gonna run this through here just to make sure. And I think we might bottom out. We're gonna need some shorter bolts, I think. This. Get some shorter bolts on this side. Maybe not. Well, we're about bottomed out right there. Okay, so we should be good to go on this one then. Seems like they're having an issue here. Right. Now I get to see if our harness reaches. It's gonna be a close one, but maybe, just maybe, I might be able to plug it in. Wait a second. Wrong direction. Oh no. Well, we're gonna have to extend our IAT, or idle air control and TPS. Well, we'll extend those. We'll see what else. Separate that from there. Get that plugged in. Let's see what our intake does. So we're still out that way. Not bad. I just need a little extra length in there. We're pretty close. All right, guys, so we are back with the radiator, and dude, oh my gosh, this radiator is pretty sweet. So it's got the threaded bungs here, so if you want to do standard hoses, which I'm going to do for now, but definitely going to take advantage of this later and try and, you know, make a AN hose, which would be pretty sweet. But it's got like your rubber grommets, so we'll go ahead and pop this on there. This one goes up here. When we have a little threaded line for our steam tube. It's also got this is it, yeah, got a couple little boxes here. It's got this super sweet cap, so this pops on, covers the radiator cap, so that's pretty rad. This is kind of what it looks like. It's super nice polish too that they have done to it. So let me take this off. It's kind of test fitting some things. So check it out. So what we're gonna do is mount the the fan setup from the Griffin radiator back onto this one, and let me kind of show you guys a few things here that I'm gonna do to make that work. All right, so a couple things. I went to the parts store, O'Reilly's, and got this kind of rubber trim. This rubber trim actually was pretty cool. I got like half off, but basically it's supposed to open up, but from the factory it has like, it's kind of sealed. The rubber isn't separated. So I just cut it with a razor blade and got enough off of there. So this is what we did with that rubber trim. Careful not to damage the radiator. So you could see I was able to get this around the edge, and this wasn't even on there on the Griffin. So this is going to absorb some of any vibration or contact points. So this will kind of sit on here. This Champion is a 3-core. My Griffin I think was a 4-core, but these should be cooling fine enough, especially with this fan setup and not having any holes in it anymore. And so this will sit on here, and that rubber will kind of make contact and absorb any shock or vibrations. And then I went to Lowe's and picked up these spacers. So they're kind of in the hardware section. You can get these over there. So I got an 1 inch and a 3/4. The inch is a little bit too long, so it'll stand up a little bit, but the 3/4 inch is a little bit too short. I'm thinking I'm going to use this 3/4 inch because I'll be able to kind of tighten it down. You could see and make contact right there and hold it nice and tight, especially with this rubber in between now to absorb any pressure. So I think that's kind of the way to go. It'll be on both sides, so that'll sit over there, and then we'll have another one over here. So yeah, we got the spacers to bolt that back on. There's gonna be 6, and we got this rubber around here. We're gonna remove this AC condenser. So what you want to do is actually get your AC system discharged before you park the car. So have somebody evacuate it. So we have the AC disconnected and evacuated. And what we're going to do is unmount this from the AC condenser and disconnect it's kind of bolted behind here and then down in the center. And what we're going to do is we're going to disconnect that and get the heat exchanger fitted in here and see where it'll fit. And hopefully it'll be flush with this. And then what we'll do is we'll actually take the AC condenser, and if you can see, there's about 1 inch to be gained if we can actually fit this into
the core support a little bit more. What that's going to take is potentially shifting it a little bit to the passenger side, which will be a little bit tough because these are all hard lines. But we might be able to shift it like one hole, which will be great, and then that'll save us a little bit of time kind of cutting a groove into this, but we might even cut a corner into here and open that up to be able to tuck that back a little bit more. Now, if my welder was working, what I'd love to do is cut this and then close it off instead of having like an open gap and like kind of reinforce it. But for now, we'll see if we even have to cut it or what we can do here. I'm not going to cut it, of course, if the exchanger is still not going to fit. Some of the problem we've been having actually is the bracket right here kind of getting in the way. So let's take a look and get it out of here. Here's what we're trying to do is get this heat exchanger mounted in a way that it's not resting on the hood pull lever. You know, I've thought about doing a cable, like under the dash kind of cable pull, and I'm kind of looking in here to see if I could maybe do some sort of rig where the lever, I cut the lever off and I kind of shorten it and put something on this end of it. I'm not too sure, but we'll see what I can get away with. I may just see if I could bend the rod enough to get away, but you could see maybe welding something to the bottom and creating like a pull-through lever right here, kind of like on a 71 or 2 is right here. So that's what we're looking at. The heat exchanger basically fits in there just tight enough. One heat hose is right here, so I would just drill that out bigger with the drill bit, and then the other one would be down there, which is much easier to access. And then basically this is kind of encroaching on where the condenser was, so what we'll do is the condenser will fit in between, so right in between like this gap, which is why I'll probably have to cut this support down a little bit to get it in there. So far it looks like we're on the right track. So I'm going to try and show you what we did here. So I've cut out the this panel to match the radiator, the AC compressor. I cut out this cardboard to match the AC compressor. Shout out Champion for the cardboard. The compressor, I want to make sure it'll fit in here against the heat exchanger, but in order to do that, I have to have a piece of cardboard or something straight to make sure, and it looks like we're there. So with that, some shorter brackets, I'm going to cut the support down here. I'll show you guys what it'll look like, but it'll be boxed, and then this will kind of mount in here. We get a lot more clearance if I can bend this bar a little bit, so we'll see about that. So we're going to be cutting right down in that little corner area. So we were trying to block some of the grinding wheel sparks. We're going to have to probably push the car out and spray it down just to make sure that stuff doesn't sit on the car and create spots or rust. But we got that notched out down there. I'm going to file down some of the edges, paint it up in there, make sure it doesn't rust over or anything, put some rubber guards on it. But if you look, I didn't necessarily intend to do it jagged like that, but it actually worked out. The reason it looks like this is because there's actually a hole in the factory core support right here. So as I was cutting across, I opened that hole, so then I just kind of smoothed it out. It's pretty tough to get in there, and I was trying to avoid taking the car apart, the front end, because it took so much work to get it together. But let me show you what this thing looks like when I have the condenser in place. So there it is, folks. That's it in place. Painting it will basically protect the metal, but right there it makes some contact. I'm not super excited about it. I may try and mount the bracket on the top to where it lifts that off a little bit. I don't like the contact because the vibrations can cause damage to the condenser, but that is right now how it's going to sit. I may take the grinding wheel to it again and get a little bit more edge off of there. Looks like everything's going pretty good. So I took another cut out. Now we're looking much more level right here, and I can mount it so the bracket is just bringing it up a hair, so we won't have contact. So that'll be pretty nice. I'm gonna spray paint inside there and protect it. Make sure it's, you know, covered. Don't want anything getting in there. But this is looking pretty nice. All right, that's all filed down, coated. We actually had some 415 laying around, so that's what we used. 415, dumped a little down in there for it to run through the core support as well for water and such that might make it in there. We don't drive in the rain a lot, but we're going to be prepared. So that is in there. Time to test fit everything. Let me give you a quick update on what I've been working on. I don't have the video running because this is going to be a lot of back and forth listening to some tunes, but power steering cooler, heat exchanger, radiator, AC condenser, all look like they're gonna fit. If this didn't work, I was actually looking at it. There's like a $500 heat exchanger that you could buy that mounts perfectly over here for the 69. But this is a much better situation. Able to use the product that Boost District offers, which is that heat exchanger. This is just a simple Durali, I believe, or so. Off Amazon power steering cooler. I've had it laying around a little while, haven't got to installing it, but it looks like I'll be able to install that bracket there, and then this one off the side over here. The radiator is now a 3-core instead of a 4-core, so I actually fit in my rubber boots just right, and in the core support, if you could see kind of down here, my 4-core was kind of sitting on this, which I didn't realize, but also creates vibration and isn't really great. But being back on a 3-core now, that doesn't leak, should give me, you know, good clearances in here. The fans will fit no problem. This will hold on here no problem. Solid, and our products, like everything under here, all the cooling systems work. All right, so we ran a couple errands today. We went to Boost District and got some spark plugs. He had in stock for me, super great. He's got everything. Mighty Mouse catch can we got off him today. We went to Lowe's and Ace, got a bunch of bolts and brackets and things to basically get everything mounted in the core support. All our let's see, missing something. Yeah, condenser, power steering, radiator, and cooler. So, well, cooler, I mean heat exchanger. So these are everything. The way this is gonna set up is I've actually already started the process for the power steering, but basically I fit everything up like 100 times and looked at it, made sure I had it all right. And I got some self-tappers into the power steering cooler on that side. On this side, we're going to do a little bracket that's going to come off. Oh, you know what would have been nice? Maybe I have one laying around, is like a little L bracket that goes L this way and down. That'll bolt that there. I think that's what I'll do. And then this right here will be over this way. And this will actually bolt to the hood support, and this side to the core support. We don't want it up against this, and honestly it's kind of heavy to be bearing on this, so we're gonna avoid that. But this will get bolted. I got the screws for the sides, which I think are quarter, I think they're quarter dash 20. But yeah, those are, yeah, that's everything there. So it'll mount kind of like that under the hood, and then this mounts no problems. We did get the shroud bolted up to the radiator. The rubber is doing its job just great. This is, you know, holding everything in place here. On this side as well, we got it in there. This is the 3/4 inch spacers from Lowe's with some self-tappers straight in. Boom. 3 on the bottom. Boom. We got these. Lubricated the O-rings with oil. Tightened this down until it bottomed out. This one as well. This one as well with some plumber's tape. This one comes good to go. We'll smack the new cap on from Champion at the end with the rubber mallet. And then this is our drain plug over here. So we should be solid to get this back in, and everything will wire up like it did when it came out. So right now what I'm gonna do is start messing with all the brackets and stuff that I picked up, get everything in place. Basically, this is my Bible here of like everything that I'm doing, parts I need to order. I mean, I go through and, oh, that's a design for the drift Chevelle. I put everything in this book. But yeah, I just kind of, each thing that I need to mount and how they basically will mount. I need to get a hose clamp for the heat exchanger pump. So just running you through, and then this is how everything was mapped out. And these all little signs and abbreviations make sense to me. But yeah, I'll show you guys what I get to as soon as this is all bolted up. All right, so right now I'm taking a moment to pull the water pump bolts out. To get to this one, we have to remove this idler pulley, and to remove this idler pulley, I had to loosen my solid mount tensioner, which is not a bad thing because we're going to need to take this belt off anyways to do a different belt. But also, we want to replace this with one that's spring-based. Apparently the solid mount takes a beating with the Supercharger, so we'll go with the original style spring-based tensioner. This is actually the idler pulley I'm touching. This is the tensioner right here. So you can't really see it though, but that's the tensioner. So we dropped that tensioner. We got this idler pulley off, coming off now with the 15mm. While we're down here, I have a chipped up power steering pulley, so we're gonna replace that too. That's on its way, coming through Summit. So having the belt off to replace a few pulleys and get this all on at once is kind of a good thing. So there it is, and that's off. So now what I'm gonna get to do here is test fit our, let me get this together. All right, set that down. All right, what we're gonna do is we're gonna be able to test fit our pulley here. Oh, dang. That's in there pretty good. Where is the gun? Let's see what's going on here. That bolt bent or anything? Nope, get right out. Okay, so we got these 3 water pump bolts coming out, and we'll be replacing those. Keep that together. We're replacing those with this. So we'll take and open this. All right, so these guys, and then we need to get this in here and see how tight of a fit that is. We're gonna see how far off we are. So we get one in. We're a little ways off, my friends. Okay, it's looking like gotta grind into it. Gotta mark that. So you can see the mark right here is where we have to kind of grind it down. It took a minute, a few test fits, but basically we test fit, we grinded down. Well, we used as a grinding wheel first, and then a flap disc to polish it. But we notched this out. Let me see if you can see how close it is. I don't want to do too much and mess with the strength of the bracket, but you can see, I put my camera on it, you can see the distance we have right there. We have clearance, and we can even turn this up a little bit. We're not going to tighten this down just yet. I know it'll go, you can see you move it either direction, but we're not going to tighten that down just yet because we're going to run new power steering lines to the cooler. So we want to make sure first that these lines are replaced and we have a new line over there, and then we'll fit everything together. So we're not going to tighten that up just yet. We're going to get new power steering lines to go to our cooler made And then once we get those lines on and tightened down, then we'll tighten this idler pulley setup down. But that is the way it'll go. And this is what it's looking like the belt should go, but we'll see when we come to the end if that's exactly how it's going to go together. So for the power steering cooler, we're going to make that hole a little bit larger and probably pop one above it. And then that hole right there will be the one for the heater hose. And we'll just widen that one out a little bit too so we have more space. So we added a hole, widened out those other ones. So what we'll do now, just to make sure it's protected, we'll put some Par 15 on there, just around that raw metal to make sure we don't get rust or anything. But we filed it down, so that should be pretty good and smooth enough for the hoses to pass through, but they'll be solid so they shouldn't rub, so we're good there. Okay, we got the expansion tank mounted, some black Allen head bolts to kind of hide it, and then because I was too precise in mounting it up against this core support, it was kind of touching, so we put a little bit of that rubber sheet metal trim that we used on the fan shroud, so that'll keep any vibrations down, not making no noise. We have the exchanger, the heat exchanger in by zip tie, just to get the positioning right while we figure out where we're going to bolt it. So we have a zip tie going through the core there very carefully and through the core there. We have it hung right in the location where it's going to hang, or it will be. And basically these little eyelets right here on this side, we're going to make some brackets that'll bolt through this to our support here. And then on this area right here by the hood hinge, we have just enough clearance. And then on this side, we're having clearance issues by this handle. So when we bolt it down, we'll put a spacer and make sure it bolts down, not touching, no vibrations. So this will actually be bolted through this, it's hard to see, through this plate. So this plate right here is the mounting bracket, so we'll zip a screw through the core support through that, and then on the upper one there's this space, so we're going to use a little spacer. We're going to cut down a 1-inch spacer to fit in there perfectly so that when it's sucked down nice and tight, we actually get it pulling just a hair off of this bracket, and that should do it. So we'll get this side zipped in first, and then we'll work on the brackets for this side right where we need it. The heat exchanger is mounted. You can see it in there. We've got the spacer that worked out just like we wanted over here, bolted, and we got this bracket that we kind of custom bent over here. And then we actually did bolt the original vintage air brackets back in place. And I'm gonna set the condenser back in there and see if we can get it to mount right to that original bracket again. And then you can see right here, how it's all in there. And you can see we've got the clearance we need for the hood. And this thing, I mean, I'm really putting all my weight into it. It's not moving nowhere. So we're mounted. Okay, we have everything mounted and in there. Our lines will run through those holes if all goes well. Pretty lined up, I'd say. Heater hose. Got it all mounted. Basically, we reused the original brackets for the AC. For the vintage air kit, and we just put a longer bolt to go through there to hold it in place, and we have one on the bottom, and that, I mean, that really is holding it solid. I have another bolt that I'm going to put through right here to the bracket, and we'll call it done. That's about it. It's pretty solid. We're getting back into the plumbing and bracketry. So what we're going to do is I'm gonna cut off this bracket here because it's not needed. It doesn't need to be that long. Same thing here, and then we'll have a new mounting hole. This is just your Lowe's bracket in the bracket aisle. Don't know what it's for. This right here is gonna mount like this. So it's gonna mount to this bracket, and this is gonna be the in feed and the out feed. This will probably need like a 90 to come off. So we're gonna mount this up to give us plenty of clearance. And basically what we're gonna do is this bracket right here, I'm gonna cut some lines in it and bend the tabs, so that way when I bend the tabs of the bracket in, it starts to wrap around this thing here, and that'll give me the ability to clamp it. So I'll show you guys what I mean here in a second. Let me go ahead and cut this up. Okay, moving over to the Mighty Mouse catch can. We're gonna get this mounted as well. We moved the bracket here just to see what would happen. To be honest, it's a really tight fit right here. So we're just gonna keep it down here. I think we'll get this in the position we want. This would have been nicer, but this bracket's just too wide. So we've marked it on our 90-degree little piece of metal. So we'll cut this, and then this will be the bracket behind it. And then we'll do the same thing we did with our expansion tank, and we'll put the other brackets, the L brackets, right there. Let me show you. So these little Lowe's brackets, same thing. We'll do a button head over here, and then this will bolt to the 90 just like that. So we'll have two of them. Boom, holding it in place right here, just like that. Just like that, folks. It's gonna be interesting, but we'll get it. Okay, time to go grind. So for the heat exchanger pump, basically we got that bracket in, goes straight down, does a little 90, bolts to the core support right there. And then I guess I could have left the bracket a little longer. And then the hose clamp goes around the back. See the head of it. And then I basically took a little bit of hose and I cut it and opened it. Actually, let me show you this. This is pretty sweet. So this is the setup. So you can see I cut the tabs. So I cut the top a little bit. And then those tabs where I cut the metal in, I bent them forward so they kind of hug the pump. And then so it wasn't metal up against the plastic, I took a piece of hose, see that? Took a piece of hose and cut it open lengthwise and then wrapped it in there. So you kind of have this C-shaped metal and then C-shaped rubber insulator in there, just like that. Matter of fact, I'm not really happy with that. I could turn that a little bit. See that? Yeah. Need to turn that. So this can slide over a little bit. Okay, guys, there it is. Got the bracket, getting ready to bolt it to the core support. Bent the little, I cut the metal right there and bent it so it made these little tabs that kind of curve and hug the pump. And then I cut open a piece of rubber hose and put behind it as insulation. It also curves with it. You can see it kind of curves the same way. See, just a little piece of rubber hose. And so now this has insulation. It's cut, bracketed, clamped, tightened down. Gonna go bolt this in. All right, while we have everything apart again, we're gonna upgrade our steam tubes. So you can see here, I just took out the 10mm bolts, both there and there. Move those, got this. We're gonna replace it with this Earl's kit. So it'll have a little swivel action. Depends on how y'all want to set it up. But I'm gonna go ahead and get this dialed. Let's see, is there a part number on the box? it is. LS steam tube kit. All right, you're looking at them. They do look good, and that goes just below our PCV. Looking good. Everything's gonna basically route there, and then this comes with an AM fitting press fit for this side, so that'll be pretty nice. Be able to put that looking nice straight in the radiator. It's a good little kit. Looks clean. It's got the black anodized with the stainless bolts. Looks nice. It'll show, and I did fit the mid plate on, and it clears perfectly over here, so pretty neat. We're gonna unplug all these spark plug wires. We know that it goes 2, 4, 6, 8 top to bottom. I marked number 2, and we're gonna unplug all those on the left side, get those plug wires out of the way, and then unbolt that because we're looking to relocate that away from the heat from the headers. So we're gonna go ahead and do that and go from there. So thinking about it a little bit more, I don't think I'm going to relocate the coils just yet. I do want to get the car running. I know it runs with the plug wires and everything as they are. So I'm going to leave the coil packs where they are, and I'm going to get some heat shield that'll go around it to kind of, block the heat, of course. So I'm going to find a nice sheet. I'm going to bend it around and get it like kind of strapped in. I got a heat shield for the starter. So today what we're going to do is we're actually going to leave the coil packs where they are. We're going to plug in we're going to get our two-step routed through the firewall. We're going to get our pump for the exchanger routed through the firewall. There's a relay that'll go on the inside there for that. And then once we get those two things plugged in, then we'll do some of the wiring that we're going to have to do, the map sensor and the IAT. We're just going to relume the map sensor, and then for the IAT, we're actually going to splice that into the mass airflow. So today we're going to do wiring. On the inside of the car, there were some wires that I had running back to the battery for the fans and the AC and everything. I'm going to bring that up and run it to a junction that I have inside the car over here for power. So with that, we should have most of the wiring. The other thing that we'll do is right here where the AC is, there's a binary switch. We're going to actually plug in the trinary switch and create a plug for that. So we'll have a weather pack plug on this end. In the trunk, there's by the tank, there's also a wire for the tank where we're going to do a weather pack plug. So we'll have a weather pack at the tank, weather pack at the AC, IAC or IAT actually, and the two-step and the pump. So I'll get started on that. I'll show you guys along the way, stop at a couple points along the way just to show you what the plan is and where I'm routing it, because right now it's not going to make a whole lot of sense just yet. All right, so it comes out kind of hard to see. There it is. Right there, comes through, which is down in there by the fuse panel, runs behind this inner fender, behind the expansion tank, comes up, and it'll plug in right down here. We have to actually change how this is mounted. Okay, so I just wrapped up on the power steering cooler. Let me show you how it turned out. So as we were talking about, we ran these hoses directly here, and it's on here some stuff, and we ended up having to drill a third hole up here to get this all to line up. Now these are hoses that I had made while I was over at Deering. This right here is all 6A and stuff, and then it comes out, and this is 3/8 line, this is number 8, and it comes out over here. And we have enough slack that we ran it straight across this way, and it kind of wraps around inside this fender well, goes behind this expansion tank, and then comes down, as you see right there, following the fender line and frame rail. And we will get clamps that will hold this in place. You can see there's a hole in the frame actually for a clamp right there. So we'll get something that holds these two in place right here on the frame, and then they go here. This is your high pressure, which goes straight to the pump, and then this is your return line, which is low pressure. This right here is a 45-degree 6AN fitting that I fitted on, and then this one right here is just a straight with the number 8 clamp and a little clamp cover. So that is how it looks now. And the way it was showing in the diagram for the cooler was that the hot comes in the bottom and the cold leaves out the top. So it'll come hot from the gearbox, going cold out into the reservoir to be used in the pump itself. That's pretty much it. We're here at the 64 Chevelle workbench. We have a bunch of stuff on the workbench over here, and we're accumulating parts faster than we can install them. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna install the fuel injectors and the adapter plugs that'll connect to the EV1 harness I have on my car. And we're gonna also install the dash 8 fittings on the end. If you look, the way these fuel rails are mounted, it's actually really close, so you can't actually get a turn on these with the rails mounted. So we're actually going to have to remove the rails in order to tighten these on all 4 corners, which does come with the kit. And here we go, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they all have O-rings, so those are the orb fittings. Let me get my ratchet. Okay, we're back. Now, we're gonna get this rail off. Using this Allen wrench. It's 5mm. Boom, boom. No fittings or anything there that we're going to lose. Okay. The injectors. Alright, so I had to find some clean motor oil, but that's what we'll use to lubricate the injector rings. Right now, we're going to go ahead and plug in all of these so that they're ready to go. It's 1, 2. Of course, I don't advise that you set too many things on this mid plate, since this is thinned and probably pretty fragile. But I will be cautious here. And boom. There we go. Ooh, this last one's a little rough. Alright, so with all those installed, we actually get to eliminate 1 box off our workbench. So back to this. So what we're going to do, and we don't want to get that anywhere, we're going to lubricate these O-rings with clean oil. I think people use clean engine oil or ATF, whatever you have laying around. Just going to use a little bit of oil. That's 1. I'm just going to go lightly. 1 gobs of it. 2. Guarantee one of those falls out of place. 3. And 4. And I don't have a paper towel laying around. Something I'm thinking about as I'm installing this last one is that okay, that one is not as happy. There we go. Is that I didn't lubricate the upper O-rings, so that's gonna be fun.
Let's do these upper O-rings. Just enough. So that'll go on. I guess we'll get around it. Okay. This is now a hand towel. Boom, boom, boom. Alright, and then the other thing we gotta do is install these. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna have to tighten these guys up. I'm gonna need a wrench. Alright. Let's see. Little adjustable wrench. Not fancy enough to have an AN wrench. Alright. Well, that is doing exactly what I thought it was gonna do. Okay. Well, I guess it likes it. I was assuming that because these rails fit flush up against the mid plate, that when I tighten this, it would be perfectly flat like that. So it could butt up against it, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. It seems like they... Alright, well, get this started. Let's see. Just a little bit off. So you have to push down on the rails a little bit and a little forward. If you look at the holes, you can line them up. And now that those are in, I'm gonna crank on this just a little bit more. Okay, so actually when you tighten these orb fittings, this is sitting flat up against the mid plate. So we actually were able to tighten them all the way, and we'll be able to tighten this flush again. Because what it is these rails sit so flush up against the mid plate that you literally can't turn this. You can't turn it. You just can't turn it against there. There's no room. So we'll tighten these on. And we're just going to go snug on this. It is a softer metal, so we're just going to get a nice little... There we go. So those are nice and tight. Now, there we go. We have some movement. Cool. And we can kind of move these around how we need to. Now, my harness is pretty short, so I imagine I'm going to have these things like pretty much all the way back just to reach like that. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And then we'll put some gaskets on the adapters that are over there. Matter of fact, let me get one right now. Alright, so these are the gaskets that it comes with, these Chevelle Pro gaskets. What's in here? Trash. So we got these gaskets out. That was a gasket AMS 3720 Chevelle Pro MS 92438. Alright. And then we'll open these. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So these are just like the factory intake gaskets, and you could see this little tab right here. They actually, man, this is a beautiful piece. Boost District right here. They have the tab sitting there perfectly for this to sit in. So that's pretty perfect. So we'll pop this bad boy in here, just like that. Now, this little handy dandy tool right here. Just push that in. Cool. We'll do this to both sides. Boom, pop that in. Boom, pop that in. All right, I'm gonna knock out the other side, and then we'll catch back up when we're putting this in the car. All right, so we've finished putting that gasket in on this side. That's the one you saw on video. And then on this side, we vacuumed up the top of the intake from any shavings or anything from all the work we've been doing under here, and some debris that had collected around these bolts just over time. Now, what we're gonna do here, pull all our tape off, because we wanted to protect anything from falling in. All right, these nice, beautiful pieces. We're gonna line up our holes there. All right. Setting the lid plate on. Going barefoot in. All right. Now they're on there mostly. There we go. All right, so there's a specific torque pattern to this plate. Now I'm gonna first get all these started. Now this is gonna be difficult. As you guys can see, this isn't the easiest part. Look at that. Let me get a pick. Let's see. Long skinny screwdriver. All right. So these are plates. Don't necessarily make this easy. There we go. Now we're figuring it out. Alright, injectors will plug in. Will not plug in. No. Oh, this is terrible. Alright, well, half the injectors fit. The other half may need some. Oil pressure sensors plugged back in. Now how do we get some more slack? Oh, brother. We don't have it. We need about an inch. Alright. I think I have a plan. Be right back. Okay. So, I pushed the harness through the firewall a little bit more. Hopefully this goes to plan. Okay. Just barely getting in there. The first one. Second one. Come on. Oh man. This is not good. Well, definitely going to be doing a completely new harness in the future. This harness is pretty much as tight as it gets. Dangerous. Got it all plugged in. Let's see what's so tight over here. Let's get it light. Quick little update on the heater hose routing. So right here, actually I'll show you the power steering first is connected, right? Going around there. We have our heater hose here going through the core support. That one wraps around right here, comes around the back and goes into our pump. Well, actually, technically it's pumping out into the heat exchanger. This one right here is coming in from the bottom of this one. Let me show you. So there, these are all tightened up. So we have it coming out, going into a 90-degree 3/4 brass fitting, because that's what we could find at the hardware store. Comes down into here. This is bolted with the clamp. It's a mounting clamp bolted to the fender. I think this is a 2 1/4 inch or 2, something like that. And then we have our clamps here. So this one comes around the back, goes into the heat exchanger here. This one right here is actually coming up in, and it wraps around the inner fender well, all the way around the inner fender well, and it goes there to one of those. The other one will come all the way around again right here as well. It'll come down, and this one will actually come through to here. You can see I've already got the 90-degree brass fitting. I don't know if you can see that, but that is it. So, one last hose to go. Ready, Ollie? Wait. Oh no, that was a bad one. Let me get one more, Ollie. Ready? Ollie? Dang, that sucked. Ollie, back. Go sit down. Wait. Turn around. Sit. Sit. Ready? Oh, the first one's perfect. All right, so looking at the pulley bracket for the idler pulley on the supercharger. This is supposed to mount here on the water pump. There's 3 bolts. You could see how they look. Oh. So if I try to line up all 3, this one right here is a little bit off. We need to go over, but we're making contact right there on that line. Now, moving the reservoir won't help. This is actually part of the pump. So unless I were to switch from an F-body pump or power steering setup, then it won't work. So what we'll do is, first off, get a new power steering pulley because that looks a little chewed. But what we'll do is we'll actually see if there's a fitting that they make that we can replace this so it doesn't come out so far. Potentially, there's going to be either a different line that works a little bit better. Maybe that comes out into the side, or a banjo style fitting. So something that basically is like a 90-degree banjo. I'm not sure if that'll give us the pressure or the flow we need into the pump, but that may be an option. So we're going to look into that. Okay, so that hose is connected now. You can see it has a 90-degree that goes into the other 90-degree, which you saw was like 90 and it points out this way, and then this is a 90 going in, and it goes up behind the fender well. Excuse all the hose clamps, but that's just the way it's going to be. And then it comes behind the fender. You can see I put some hose covering and then hose clamps again, because these 3/4 inch hose clamps were supposed to make it all pretty, but they don't actually fit over the 3/4 hose plus the little lip on the piping. So anyways, this is what it looks like. What we're gonna do now, since the heater hose is done, we're gonna tighten this up. I need to use some acetone and clean off my original marks, but we got that notched. We're not gonna have to move this at all, so I believe we're in there. I don't think there's contact. There might be. Okay, there might be contact there. How could we check? A piece of paper. Let's see. All right, let's see. The moment of truth. Uh-oh. Not getting paper in there, folks. All right, well, that means we have some more grinding wheel to do on this thing, and then we'll install it. So let me go at that for a minute. But then we'll torque that down to 11 foot-pounds. All right, we got the acetone, cleaned it off. It's torqued down to 11. We're not having any contact there. Kind of hard to see, but there's no contact. We're gonna put this pulley on and then put this pulley back on, and we'll be on our way. All right, both pulleys are back on. You can tell the old one looks like doo-doo and the new one looks fresh as hell. But those both are torqued down to 37 foot-pounds. So our front pulley setup is all in place now. We do have to still put the belt tensioner on this side, but we'll do that. We'll do that here pretty soon. This is the key to the system. This is what goes up under the hood behind the supercharger is where I'm mounting it. Now, this is kind of the center of where everything goes. So my rail's gonna connect to here, my other rail over here. So this is gonna go into both rails. And then I have my 45-degree, which goes down under the car. This is the return that goes under the car. The feed line will come into the front of the rails. So this is just like the crossover in the back with the boost reference, which will be here. So what I'm gonna do is, while this is off the car, I'm gonna remove this bracket, and then anything that's AN or has a orb fitting O-ring needs just a dab of oil lubrication. At least that's what Deering Industries advised me. I didn't know that before. So we're gonna lubricate everything just a hair and get all this kind of bolted together how we want it. this is essentially how this will all go together. So we're going to tighten it up off the car, starting with the gauge. So let me go ahead and take the gauge out. I'm going to crank this out. So this is gonna, and anything NPT, basically these like kind of smaller threads, this is all gonna be your plumber tape or whatever you want to call it. So we're gonna put that on those threads. Now this here we're gonna take off just like this. We don't need this bracket on here. We also don't need that washer I just dropped, I guess. So we're gonna take this guy off. Now, just in case in the future I do want that bracket, I'm taking a risk here and saying that this is going to be pretty solidly mounted because of the hard lines that I'm using. The PTFE doesn't really flex. It flexes just a hair, but we're going to just tighten these back on here in case we want them later. All right, and then this other one here. Now, I don't need thread lock or anything on here, but it does have a lock washer, so we're going to. Okay, and then use the longer side for some leverage. Get a nice little good and tight on there. Now, the next part is this is going to sit this way, and I want my gauge off to the side. So I'm going to tighten this thing in here, and let's hope that this fits directly. Supposed to. There we go. Thank goodness. That would have been a mess. All right, and we're going to tighten this thing up so that it's facing 90 degrees out. All right, let's go right there. So that's our 90 degrees right there. And then our gauge is going to go into the side of that. Just like that. So when we're looking at the side, the passenger side, we'll have our gauge straight off the side of it. Now this you have to be careful with, because if you tighten on the gauge, you could actually break the internals. So you do want to tighten just on the nut on the back. And when we're nice and tight, we want this to be right side up. So you see, wonder I might be able to get one more full spin out of it. Give it a go. All right, come on. Do me good. All right, nice. There it is. So we're basically right side up there, and it's really tight. So this is what it'll look like. Just give it another little snug. Okay. Now this 90 degree will go to our fuel rail. So I'm going to tighten this one up, and this one will tighten to the fuel rail, and then this one I'm going to leave loose because this is where I'm going to adjust my angle and then tighten this nut down. But what we are going to do, so that's ready, is we are going to, oh, hold on. I'm going to take that off. Oh, I see. So we might actually have messed up here. Might need to take the gauge off. I don't know. Maybe not. Seems like we should be able to get that tight. I might screw that in one more. I don't really like it. So rather than sacrificing the whole unit, we'll take this off. We can always redo that. All right. So the gauge is coming back off. And that's why this is so freaking important. All right. We want to make sure that none of that thread stuff got inside there. This one we can actually tighten up all the way. So I'm just going to go ahead and lube this. And we're just using some clean engine oil. This is a SAE 30. And again, just a light little lube on the O-ring so we don't pinch it, dry it up. All right. And our wrench. All Just gonna go nice and snug there. Boom. All right. The other one we can tighten up is this side, because this is gonna stay. So we'll tighten this up. A lubricant. And we'll tighten that down. Now you can buy AN wrenches, but AN wrenches pretty pricey. I just try not to scratch these up that much. The other thing is you can put tape on your wrench, which I've done before as well, or tape on the nut. All right, and then this one right here, we want to, oh, I see right there. All right, so we need to back this out and move this up a little. Okay. All right, so that's about as much as we're going to get is right there. So the rest of this will have to be tightened using this nut right here. And we'll do that once it's on, which will be fun back there. So we'll tighten that one up on the car. So we'll hold this and tighten this. This will be on the car. This will do after we do this, because I don't want the wrench to break the gauge off. This one right here, we can do, well, actually, we're going to need to do this side first, because this will need to be clocked. So I think at this point we are, oh, you know what? I could do one more. We could do this 90 degree right here. We know that this is going to be, well, we should probably lubricate all these anyway. This one we'll have to do on the car as well, because we need to clock this way. So everything has like an order. This will kind of come first on the rail, then we'll move this into the position and tighten that up. So let's move to the car. All right, so this line right here is a bit too long. This actually needs to be about right here, and then we'll have the right length. So one thing that we forgot to do was I need to put some NPT on this. This is the Boost reference. Oh, you know, it's on this side. This is the Boost reference, so we're going to tighten this up on here as well. Okay. Now this right here, we're just going to pop this in. All right, so we have this in place. So first, we're going to tighten up this one, the 45, because it is pretty tough to get to back here. So I believe we want it right there. I'm going to tighten that. All right. There we go. I got actually a good crank out of it. All right, so that's there. Now we need to, of course, tighten up this fuel rail. Well, we need to lubricate it first. While we have lubricated finger, we'll do the other side too. So this, we said, is going to go like that. Need to be able to reach our map sensor. Okay, we can. Good. Okay, so this will go on here. Now this will tighten up it's kind of turning on us, so we gotta hold this other one down. Alright. This is the part that we said was going to be hard, is holding this clocked in the right position. Because as you tighten it, it wants to turn. Okay. Now this one will tighten. And we want to be careful not to hit our firewall. Alright, and you can see it, that one wants to turn the regulator backwards toward the firewall, so we're going to pull it forward to hold it in the position we want it. Okay, I mean, that is really tight. Now, this one is next on our list. This will hold it clocked. Now what I'm doing is I'm twisting it now into the place we want, and right there it's kind of touching the back of the block. So I'm going to go just a hair forward. That way that 45 degree 6AN that goes down behind the car doesn't rock up against the block. Not that it's bad, but it's just better not to touch. Alright. Right in position. There we go. Now that is very firmly in there. So last one now is the side. Wow, I almost knocked over this jug of oil. The last one is the one that goes to the other fuel rail. And what we're going to do is we're just going to move this out of the way for a minute. And we'll tighten these up next. We're going to move this out of our way. Anyway. But, wow, this thing really likes it. Alright, there we go. So this one, we're going to tighten up over here. Remember, we already lubricated it. And this side will go on this way. We need to get this in just the right position. Alright, one thing that we need to do, I think we need to tighten this one back. Alright, there. Well, that is really in there. Alright, let's see, we're going to do this a different way. We're going to tighten this down. Alright, I don't need this oil, so I'm going to move this for now. Alright. And before we tighten it all the way down, we'll get this one started. Okay. We'll tighten this one. I think that's on there pretty tight. And then this one. Now, we'll put this one back on tight. We got that where we needed it. Okay. There we go. Wow, we did it. So we got all these on. This will go around this way. We'll run that next. And then we have this guy. We need to put tape back on. We're going to torque down the mid plate before we tighten down this hose and the other heater hose, because we need to be able to reach these fittings. Okay, there we go. So we're going to torque down the mid plate next. Stay tuned. Alright, I'm not going to keep the video rolling for this, but let me show you the torque pattern that I'm going to be following. Here we go. So here's our torque pattern, our torque. So on the first pass, we're going 65 inch-pounds, then 98 inch-pounds on the second pass, and this is the pattern. So you can pause it here. This is the heater hose 1, heater hose 2. These are 2 hex bolts, which you don't touch. They've already been tightened up. This is one sensor, and this is a different sensor. That map will come all the way over here. That IAT will go around this way to our MAF sensor. Now, after that, we'll torque down the supercharger, and that's a separate diagram. But this is what we're going to be following first. Before we put the supercharger on and torque that down, I'm going to show you guys where we're at. So all the fuel injectors are plugged in. We have our crossover here, which goes to this Y. Now this is a legit Y, but a Y that actually is straight. 2 straights would have been better, but this will work. So this will line up right here, and we're going to have a U joint right there, 180 degree. This goes back to a 90, which goes down. The 45 off the bottom of the fuel regulator goes down. That's a 6A, that's a return. We have the 90 degree fuel rail goes up, and then 90 degrees right off of that into this side, and then into the other side, which is a straight to a 90. And then we have our 90 degree heater hoses. There was no heat shrink or beautiful clamps I could put there, or at least that I found immediately. And I'm trying to get moving, so we got it all wrapped around, covered. We've set the supercharger on now, and we have all the bolts started, and we basically took them down to where they stopped. And we're going to follow the torque spec for this, which does have a torque pattern as well. So let me show you guys what torque pattern that is. In this case, we're going to do 14 foot-pounds on the first pass and 19 foot-pounds on the second pass. You can see that here. This is the pattern that we're going to follow. So one being on the passenger side, crossing, we're doing a zigzag back and forth, X's back and forth. And so we're going to go ahead and tighten this down off video, and we'll see you in a second. The supercharger is all torqued down. Now I took the throttle body back off because I had just test fitted it. And what we need is actually the O-ring. So this O-ring needs to go in there, and I'm probably going to use a light touch of oil on there just to seal it in. So I'm going to put that in, and then we're going to torque the throttle body to 16 foot-pounds on the Allen bolts. All right, quick update. Starting to get my garage back. Finally got some space. So fuel line, the whole fuel system is waiting on a question from Tanks Inc. on the tank over there, the pump not fitting, and then a 180 degree -8 that I ordered. And then the fuel system is all plumbed. Everything else is already in place, just waiting to lift the tank up in there. Heat exchanger, everything's in place. Radiator, everything's in place, just need to put it in here. Throttle cable, I need to get a longer cable, but that's going to work for now, and I'm going to get a nicer bracket made. PCV, I got to run the catch can, and I think that's it. Yeah, we're pretty freaking close. Oh, and then I got to get a belt. Yeah, we're pretty darn close. You're probably wondering why this is off. Well, I did a little boo-boo where I first off plugged this. It got cross-threaded from some paint or something. Then I couldn't get it out with my cheap Allen wrenches. And then when that was sticking out a little bit and I tightened down this, it kind of hooked on here and I didn't realize, and it snapped off the bronze fitting. So I had to do a little surgery with my boy Oscar. And yeah, we got that tapped again and got that. We just filed that down for now. I'm going to paint this, and then, yeah, we'll have both our fittings in here as soon as I pick up another one. In the meantime, what I'm working on right now is setting up the vacuum or boost bypass. So I got a T and I got this adapter to adapt a smaller line to a bigger line. We're gonna tee off and go all the way over here into this barb, which hopefully I don't strip out or anything. And let me show you what that looks like when it's all said and done. We got everything in place. We're missing a couple things. That valley cover right there, port will come to here. So we'll connect that to the catch can. And then this port right here will go here as soon as I get the right fitting tomorrow. And then our vacuum lines, our boost bypass valves are all ran, fuel, everything. So we're missing a swivel, 180 degree swivel here. And then that fitting there, valley cover there, and then everything will be together. So we'll keep on with this. That's the update, and then some wiring. So we'll knock out some wiring. All right, so that boost line comes out of here on the mid plate here, tees in, keeps going, goes around, and there's a 90 degree, so it's not kinking right there, and then boom, right into our regulator. Now, right here, interesting thing I'll tell you about is heat shrink, because there was an adapter to go small hose to larger hose, and it was showing a white connector, so I didn't want to show that. So there it is. All right, so here we go. Last piece of the puzzle for our fuel lines. I'm gonna install this right now. So we are moving on to this belt measurement. Now the key here is that this pulley right here needs to be compressed. So we're gonna go like this. And I need to find something that fits in there, something that's about yay big. So I need a block or something of that sort. I can use this roll of tape. Maybe. Alright, we need this to tight. So we're gonna go for the middle pulley. Whoa. Alright, so to measure this, we need to get this fully extended, which is pretty hard to do. We need an extension. Alright, that is fully extended, so can we get this in there? Yeah, but it's not gonna do the trick. It's gonna get crushed. This is a very strong tensioner. Alright, so to do the measurement, we want the tensioner fully out, and we want this belt completely around everything. Okay, got it marked right here. Now this rope does stretch a bit, so we'll see how accurate we did. We could always take the belt back, but let's see. I'm gonna be mad if I accidentally let go of this stupid thing. Let's go measure. We measured that out, and it's 124 inches, 124 and 5/8 inch. We are about to mount the catch can hose again. This time though, basically we're going from the small PCV port on the valley cover to, so 3/8 to 1/2 inch. This is just the way the sizes are when they sell them. So 3/8 to 1/2 inch to the 3/4, I think, or 5/8, 3/8, 1/2 inch, 3/4, yeah. And this is the -8 line that's going on to -8 or -10. Might be actually -10, but that's what's going to go onto our catch can. So yeah, we did have to step it, which is kind of weird. I don't think it's the best. It kind of, in my opinion, is a little tacky, but to maximize the flow, this was kind of the best way to go about it. So that's what we'll do. I could have probably taken the 1/2 inch out a little bit more, or maybe even used the 1/2 inch and crimped it onto that. but also for appearance and aesthetic, this will actually kind of look better to hide this away. So that's what we'll do. For the intake for now, Derek gave me the bright idea to blow this thing out, and of course it came really clean. So we blew out the filter and we just cut a section about that big off of the intake tube and then put that side back into the coupler. And so we were able to reduce this. It used to sit more up in here, but with the pump and everything in this area, this is actually a nice quick fix. It does kind of curve a little extra and does kind of rest up against here, but this is harmless, and that's going to work for us for now. So what we're going to do next is, well, I'm going to check the gaps, and Derek's going to work on these spark plugs. Once all these are checked, I'll get to the wiring while he does this. But take a look at these spark plugs. So right now what we're going to be putting on is a 28 thousandths of a gap, and that's 28 hundredths. And then we have, what are these? NGK, where's the NGK 3346? Well, this is the part number that we recommended. And my old NGKs, the iridiums, you can see they're just a little different. So, much different. Much smaller gap, so this should be fun. Thanks for your help, buddy. What's that shirt say?
Cali cruising, baby.
Yeah, buddy. All right, let's do it. As we're getting down to the wire here, literally, we've got everything done. We're going to change the spark plugs. We're going to put our heat shield around the starter. But besides that, these wires that I've been mentioning so many times, I'm finally getting to them. They are oily from dumping some oil on accident on the power steering side. But this right here has... let's see, I'm just going to record what we have for wires because we're going to unpin them and extend them. So this has a green, light blue. Wait, let's see, are those two the same wire color? No, it's light green, dark green, light blue, red. So left to right, A, B, C, D. A is light green, B is dark green, C is light blue, red is D. So let's focus in. A is light green, B is dark green, C is light blue, D is red. All right, and the way they look here, the clip side, or the side with the curve, is on the letter side. The flat side of the square is on the bottom. For this one, with the clip, let's see. C, I see C. I see a C right there. So black, yellow, gray, opposite of the clip side. On the clip side of it, if you look at it this way, oh, A and B is, so A is gray, B is black, and C is yellow, right? And if you're looking at it this way, then the clip end is on the clip side, and on the left on C, and then the flat side of the pin is on the other. On the MAF sensor, with the clip side, yellow, black, pink, gray, purple. There's no letters on this, but at least I don't think. But I think the two wires we're going to be taking out of here is yellow and black. That's going to be the IAT sensor. So I'm going to cut this harness out and unpin those, and we'll get ready to extend them. Something I'm about to wrap up is this wiring, so I could head over to Boost District today. So the MAF sensor, the IAC right here, and then the TPS. One cool thing right here that's gonna help me extend these and keep all the colors right and all the wiring the same is that when I cut out all the wires from the 64 and made that harness, I actually kept all the length. So I have IAT right there, the TPS right there, or sorry, this is the IAC, and then this one right here is the IAC, sorry. So pretty sweet that I'll have all the exact wiring color and wires to go ahead and extend that real quick. All right, I'm just gonna show something real quick. So the MAF sensor, since these 3 wires aren't being used, I'm gonna leave them in there. You never know if you'll ever need to go back, but I used some heat shrink and then closed it off. So you just pinch it after you heat shrink it. And then with my cuts, the 3 that I've already soldered and heat shrinked were these 3 right here. So on these 3, you'll see I just stagger my cuts on the wire, so that way I don't have 3 heat shrinks right next to each other, because if you wanted to keep your wires really thin in a bundle, that would get pretty bulky pretty fast with all the solders being right up against each other and then heat shrinked after. So I stagger those cuts like that. All right, so here's the confusing part. The MAF sensor, some people look at it like this way, or I'm trying to make sure it's oriented right, but everybody uses different wires and different wire colors. So my understanding is that this purple and this gray looking wire, it's not purple and tan like most people say, or some people call out black and yellow, but my understanding is that it would be this purple and tan and gray wire, looking at it this way, are the IAT, and then this will run straight out to the IAT. But then looking at the IAT, which one goes into which pin? Which one's pin A and which one's pin B? Again, everybody uses different wires, so here's one with 2 black wires. Does it just come straight out, purple on the left, gray on the right, with the plug oriented like this? Or which direction? Do you look at it like this? I don't know. All right, so here's the finished version of the wiring. You go from the IAT over there, everything runs tight up against the supercharger, comes around, and then it's under here. See, it's all under there. So it's plugged in here, comes down here, comes out of the harness, wraps around, comes in here, and then boom, right into the harness. So I was able to get it all done. A couple things I'd like to do a little better, but all in and said, it's pretty good.